Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Saturday Night Live fans are buzzing after it was confirmed that Bowen Yang, one of the show's brightest stars, will be missing from this week's live episode. The news broke just hours after another headline stole America's attention: the shocking early release of disgraced former Congressman George Santos from prison. For casual viewers, these stories might seem completely unrelated. But for anyone who's watched Yang's wickedly funny impersonation of Santos on SNL, the timing feels almost too ironic to be coincidental. Bowen Yang's surprise absence. The comedy world was stunned when SNL insiders revealed that Bowen Yang would not appear live on the October 18, 2025 episode. Fans immediately wondered whether something serious had happened. But according to show sources, Yang's absence is entirely planned, and for a very good reason. Yang, who has been a cast member since 2019, is in Los Angeles this weekend attending a major film and television gala where he's being honored for his groundbreaking contributions to comedy and representation. The honor, known as the Vantage Award, celebrates performers who are reshaping the cultural landscape through authenticity, humor, and innovation, a description that fits Yang perfectly. The comedian confirmed his absence in a lighthearted Instagram story, sharing a sunny photo of palm trees with the caption, "Missing the show tonight but it will be so fun." Sabrina Carpenter is amazing. It's a simple message, but it did little to stop the flood of speculation online. With host and musical guest Sabrina Carpenter pulling double duty this week, fans were curious about how the show would adapt without one of its most dynamic players. The comedic irony. The timing of Yang's absence couldn't be more uncanny. Just as SNL's resident George Santos impersonator jets off to Los Angeles, the real-life Santos is walking out of prison a free man. After being sentenced earlier this year to more than 7 years in federal prison for wire fraud and identity theft, Santos' unexpected release, following a presidential commutation, stunned the nation. For many Americans, it reignited frustration over how political figures seem to bend the rules of justice. For comedians, it was fresh material begging to be parodied. But the one person who's turned Santos' chaos into comedy gold, Bowen Yang, isn't there to do it. That coincidence didn't go unnoticed on social media. Fans immediately joked about the SNL curse, suggesting that the one weekend Santos' name would inevitably dominate the cold open, Yang would be absent. One user quipped, "George Santos literally escaped prison just to dodge Bowen Yang's impression of him." Another wrote, "Bowen better have pre-taped something, this is his moment." Yang's take on Santos. From scandal to sketch comedy. Since first stepping into the role of George Santos, Bowen Yang has delivered one of SNL's most consistently hilarious impressions in years. His version of Santos, flamboyant, self-absorbed, and deeply delusional, struck a perfect balance between parody and political commentary. In one memorable sketch, Yang's Santos stood at a fake press conference bragging about his achievements as everything from an astronaut to a Broadway star. In another, he crashed, Weekend Update, to defend his outrageous lies with even more lies. The impression wasn't just funny, it captured the surreal absurdity of a real-life figure who often seemed beyond parody. For Yang, Santos became more than just a character. It was a showcase of his unique comedic voice, sharp, campy, and fearless. He turned scandal into spectacle, using humor to reveal the ridiculousness of modern politics. So when news broke that the real Santos had suddenly been released from prison, many assumed Yang would seize the opportunity to lampoon the story in spectacular fashion. Instead, he's halfway across the country, missing the show for the first time this season. Behind the scenes at SNL, insiders say Yang's absence was coordinated well in advance and that he's still contributing creatively to the episode. In fact, one pre-taped sketch reportedly features him in a supporting role. But without him on stage, the energy of the live show will inevitably feel different. Yang has been a core part of the SNL ensemble for 6 seasons now, balancing writing and performing with a growing number of outside projects. His star has risen rapidly. He's an Emmy nominee, a red carpet regular, and a go-to guest for late-night interviews. Those close to the production say SNL has become increasingly flexible about scheduling for veteran cast members, especially those with high-profile commitments outside the show. It's not unusual for cast members to miss a week, one insider explained. The show has evolved. People have movies, series, and events. As long as it's planned, they work around it. Still, the irony of the moment, Santos stepping back into the spotlight just as his on-screen doppelganger steps away, has made this week's episode one of the most anticipated of the season. George Santos walks free. On Friday, Former Congressman George Santos was officially released from a federal facility in New Jersey after a presidential commutation cut short his 87-month sentence. The former lawmaker, infamous for fabricating large parts of his life story, had spent just under 3 months behind bars. According to reports, the decision came directly from the White House, prompting outrage from political opponents and ethics watchdogs who accused the administration of undermining accountability. Santos' attorney told reporters that his client was grateful to be home and ready to focus on his family and future. Critics, however, see the release as a symbol of privilege and political favoritism. "This is not justice, it's a joke," one political analyst said. "It tells the public that lying and fraud are forgivable, as long as you're famous enough." And in a twist worthy of SNL itself, Santos reportedly hinted at returning to media and telling my side of the story, suggesting a possible re-entry into the spotlight. Whether he meant talk shows, podcasts, or another congressional run is anyone's guess, but the idea of Santos cashing in on his notoriety feels almost inevitable. The satirist and the scandal. Bowen Yang's portrayal of Santos wasn't just funny, it was cathartic. At a time when real political scandals felt exhausting, his exaggerated impression helped audiences laugh again. It reminded viewers that satire still has the power to puncture absurdity. That's why his absence this weekend feels symbolically rich. The real Santos is free, but the comedic version, the caricature that turned public outrage into laughter, is momentarily silent. It's as if reality and parody traded places for the night. It also speaks to how entwined politics and entertainment have become. Modern figures like Santos don't just enter the news cycle, they enter pop culture. They become memes, sketches, and punchlines. In that sense, Bowen Yang helped define the cultural meaning of George Santos as much as any journalist did. What tonight's SNL could look like. Even without Yang on stage, it's hard to imagine SNL ignoring Santos' release. The show has always been quick to pounce on breaking political news, and this story has all the makings of a viral cold open. If Yang pre-taped a sketch, it might air as a spoof, exclusive interview, with Santos fresh out of prison, complete with Yang's trademark chaotic energy. If not, another cast member might take on the impression temporarily, or the show might address the story through Weekend Update. Either way, Santos' name is almost guaranteed to come up. It's too big a cultural moment to pass by, and too perfectly timed to ignore. Bowen Yang's future beyond SNL. For Bowen Yang, missing one episode is hardly a setback. If anything, it underscores his growing influence beyond Studio 8H. In recent months, he's been cast in several film and television projects, voiced animated characters, and been celebrated as one of comedy's most important modern voices. He's also been candid in interviews that he doesn't plan to stay on SNL forever. "I love it deeply," he said in one recent profile, "but I also know there's a whole world of stories I still want to tell. That world is opening fast." His work has redefined what mainstream comedy looks like, proving that queer, Asian American humor isn't niche, it's universal when done with heart and intelligence. So while fans may miss his live energy tonight, they can take comfort in knowing his absence means he's out there being recognized for exactly what makes him special. The bigger picture. Taken together, the stories of Bowen Yang and George Santos reflect two sides of the same cultural coin. One is an artist who uses truth and humor to illuminate absurdity. The other is a politician who used absurdity to distort the truth. In their own ways, both became mirrors of modern America, a place where fame, lies, comedy, and politics constantly overlap. As Santos begins his strange second act and Yang collects a major career honor, the irony practically writes itself. The real George Santos may have regained his freedom, but the comedic George Santos, the version that lives in Bowen Yang's sharp satire, remains the definitive one in the public imagination. And when Yang eventually returns to Studio 8H, viewers can bet that his first sketch back will make up for lost time, with George Santos squarely back in his comedic crosshairs.